And just those short encounters with Srila Prabhupada has such an impression in our hearts. Lavamatra sadhu sangha sarvasiddhi vaya. So I saw him put it in his kurta pocket. It was sticking out. I think, oh, is he going to lose it? Will he read it? Will he read it? Will Prabhupada read my letter? So then the car drove off, and that was, I pretty much forgot. I didn't forget, but I just thought, well, Prabhupada's so busy, he probably won't reply. 2 weeks later, a letter comes in the mail. And in those days, whenever a letter would come from Srila Prabhupada, it was a very special event. The temple president would get the letter, and he wouldn't say who it was addressed to. And we'd all assemble in, there was like kind of a living room in that temple, a reception room we used it as. The conch would blow, woo, letter from Srila Prabhupada, a letter's come from Srila Prabhupada. Whatever we were doing, working in the kitchen, cleaning the temple room, preparing the books for Sankirtan, or whatever we were doing, everyone would just drop whatever they do, and they'd run to this reception room where we'd all sit down in great expectation to hear just a few drops of nectar from Srila Prabhupada. And we didn't think that, oh, this letter's for this particular Prabhu, so we figured whatever Srila Prabhupada said was for the benefit of all of us, so every devotee would hang on every word that came from that letter. So Bhagavan, he said, we've received a letter today from Srila Prabhupada. And this letter is addressed to, and he said, Bhakta Brian. And I went, oh, that's me. Prabhupada. I replied to my letter. So he said, so Bhakta Brian, you can come forward and read the letter. So I stood up and I came forward and his hands were shaking. I can't remember exactly because the letter was later lost, but my dear Bhakta Brian, please accept my blessings. I want to thank you very much for your donation of $10 towards my book fund. I have information from the authorities in your temple that you are doing very nicely in Krishna consciousness. So my request to you is that you always follow in the footsteps of advanced devotees. And in due course of time, I will be very, very happy to accept you as my duly initiated disciple. And I was just so elated, so happy that Prabhupada had agreed to initiate me, that in due course of time, so that gave me a lot of strength, spiritual strength. Some months later, I can't remember exactly, but some months later, Srila Prabhupada wrote to Bhagavan Das that he wanted him to go to Europe to help with the center in Paris. It was a new temple in Paris. Hari Vilas was there, Lochananda Umapati Prabhu, who's now Umapati Swami. There were a few devotees, but Prabhupada felt he wanted a GBC man to go there and organize the preaching and get things going, bring it up a little bit. So one day Bhagavan was mentioning that he's going to soon be leaving and he's going to be going to France, and he was trying to think who could come with him and assist him. So I heard that, I raised my hand, I said, I went to Europe one time and I traveled around. He said, do you know how to travel? I said, oh, of course, I've been to France and I've been to Germany and Spain, and you just take me and I'll organize everything for the travel. He said, all right, you can come. We were already quite close. So he said, but on one condition, that you can get us on the same flight as Srila Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada was flying in about a week's time to London. So I said, if we're going to go, we'll try to go on the same flight. So if you can get on the same flight as Srila, you can come with me. I mean, he was probably already agreeing, but I said, okay. So I got on the telephone to New York. And I found out from the devotees what flight Srila Prabhupada was on. So I called the airlines and I talked to the ticket agent there. And I said, do you have a A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, a Mr. Swami on this flight? Yes, we do. And we have, his servant was also mentioned. I said, I'd like to reserve 2 seats on that flight. She said, I'm sorry, the flight's completely booked. My heart just dropped. I said, gosh, isn't there anything you can do? I said, this is my spiritual master. She said, you're what? I said, he's my spiritual master. She said, what's a spiritual master? I said, he's my guru. She didn't know anything. He's like my teacher, he's like my spiritual teacher. I said, like in Christianity, you have Jesus Christ and he's your life and soul and his teacher. I said, oh, okay, just 1 minute. I'll go talk to my supervisor. So 2 minutes later she came back, she said, "Sir, we've made an arrangement so you can be with your guru on the flight. We've got 2 seats for you." So I, gave my name and Bhagavan's name. And a week later, it was some days later, we drove to New York City. And at that time the temple was on Henry Street. And all I can remember about Henry Street is that Prabhupada was giving initiations. We have these big Bharadraj and different, all these people I'd heard about and wanted to meet, these devotees. They were leading kirtans, and Vishnu Jan Maharaj was there, and having Harinams out on the streets every day of New York, and Prabhupada was lecturing. I remember the impression in my mind is Prabhupada's lectures, and Bhavananda had made a Vyasasan for Srila Prabhupada, very kind of pop art. It was all different colors and everything. I remember Prabhupada, I was impressed, this is an amazing Vyasasan. But Prabhupada would sit on it, and it would start slipping like this. I always wanted to come up and hold the cushion. I could see Prabhupada was always struggling on the seat there. And then it came time to go to the airport for our flight. There was myself and Bhagavan, Srila Prabhupada, and Pradyumna. And we got in a car and we drove off a little bit early, and most of the devotees got stuck in the traffic. Because in those days, everybody, the whole temple would come go to the airport and see Prabhupada off. And so my car got there first. Somehow we avoided the traffic jam, and just behind us, Srila Prabhupada arrived. It was Prabhupada and Pradyumna and the driver, really. And then there was myself and Bhagavan and our driver. So we got in and we started going from out, checking our bags in, and then we went to passport control. And by that time, all the devotees had arrived. It was just so chaotic. There were hundreds and hundreds of devotees. Everybody wanted to see Prabhupada for the last time, and offer their obeisances, maybe ask a few questions. But it was, by the time we actually got to check in, it was a little late. So it was chaotic. And the man who was taking the passports, and next to that, they were checking our hand luggage. I was right next to Prabhupada, and that officer, he said, "I want to see inside that white bag." Prabhupada used to carry this white bag, which would keep all his important papers and his glasses and his kartals and certain documents and medicines and things. I always wanted to see inside that white bag, because always carrying it, a little white, about this big. Famous bag, actually. So he said to Prabhupada, "I open that bag." And Prabhupada was having a hard time with the locks. It was kind of old by that time, an Indian make. Hard to open, so he couldn't open, and the man became very rough. He said, "Open that bag," I said. So I leaned over the counter and I said, went right up to his face, I said, "If you speak like that again to my spiritual master, I'm going to break your face." So, the man stepped back, he said, "I thought you people were nonviolent." I said, "But in a case like this, you're speaking to a pure devotee. You should know the proper etiquette." So he said, "Okay, young man, you open the bag." I said, "Okay." And I always wanted to see in that bag, So I turned it around and just opened, just like that. And I opened it up, and then I just became mesmerized, so, looking in the bag. There's a confidential insight into Prabhupada's possessions. I was looking at the glasses, and this was there, and the pen was there. And the man said, "Excuse me, I want to see in the bag." So I turned it around. He looked, he said, "Okay, thank you." So we went on, and then Pradyumna and Bhagavan, they had to go through the same formalities. So the man said, "All right, go quickly now, I'll take care of the others." So we were the first two, me and Srila Prabhupada, to walk to the plane along the hallway there. And there were no other passengers, there was nobody, just the two of us in the hallway. It was the first time I'd ever been alone with Prabhupada. So Prabhupada turned to me and he said, "Just see," he said, "in this material world, these people have no good qualities." And I kind of listened. He said, "Because they are associating with the modes of nature, they have no good qualities." He said, "Do you understand, Indradumna?" So Prabhupada speaking to me. "Yes." I didn't really understand. Yes. And then we walked a little further, and he said again, he stopped and he said, "You just see, hovering on the mental platform, no Krishna consciousness, all the bad qualities. Do you understand, Indradumna?" "Yes." And then just before we got to the plane, Prabhupada stopped again. He said, Just see, because they are associating with these modes of nature, they're going downwards, downwards, downwards. But if we can revive their Krishna consciousness, they'll develop all good qualities. Do you understand? And I went, yeah, now I understand. There was some special potency in hearing the instruction or hearing the knowledge 3 times. And it just entered into my heart. I said, oh, yeah, I understand that they have bad qualities because they're associated with the material world, but if we revive their Krishna consciousness, then all their good qualities will come out. And I just was, oh, okay, I understand. It was like a mystical experience.